Hey there, welcome to the Multi-Family Mixtape podcast, brought to you by Multi-Family Media Network. I'm your host, Mark Sharp. Multi-Family Mixtape is an eclectic podcast as we will discuss any and all things multifamily, from maintenance how-to videos to interviews with industry experts. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and join me for some campfire-style conversation and maybe a few laughs. Hey everybody, this is Mark Sharp with Multifamily Mixtape. Thank you all for signing on and joining me today. I am very excited to have my good friend Monica Begg with me today. Monica is the Vice President of Business Development with Legacy Apartment Staffing. So we're going to have a nice chat today about training, the importance of training, and a little bit about Monica's journey into the multifamily industry. So I'm super pumped to have this conversation with her today. So Monica, how are you?
I am great. Mark, thank you so much. I'm so excited to do this podcast with you. I've watched you and I've watched this growth with your journey, and just to be part of this today is just, it's very humbling, and I'm very honored to be here.
Well, I mean, you made me sound really great, and I appreciate that.
You are great.
I just want to tell everybody out there, I did not ask her to say that. She took that upon herself.
Checks in the mail.
Yes, but thank you. Thank you very much for the kind words. I really, really do appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm in year 24. How long?
You have just a couple on me. Yeah. I got into this industry, went into the multifamily side. I'm hitting that 2-decade there. And right before I got into multifamily, I was already into the real estate side, had gone and taken my test, got my license, all that. But it was a big jump because well before that, I was in medical and sales. But that's kind of been my life is service, but I never dreamed I would be right here.
Mm-hmm.
None of us probably did, right? We didn't wake up and say, hey, I think I'm going to be in property management.
Oh, I sure did.
No.
I had, I don't say I was young and dumb, but I don't want to just make it seem like all young people are dumb, but I was definitely young and dumb. I had no clue, no direction, no nothing. And just sort of lucked into it. And it's been quite a journey. But expand on your intro into the multifamily industry. Expand on that a little bit. How exactly did you find your way into multifamily?
Well, very interesting. I was doing, dabbling on the real estate side, waiting to take my test, get that license, become rich, right? And At the same time, I was doing some sales with a fragrance line. And I had applied. I said, I really need insurance. I really need a steady income while I'm doing all of this. So I had applied for a leasing position. I think it was advertised more as like a sales position. I applied for it 6 months earlier and never heard anything. I just kind of brushed it away because it was just something I was trying to do and trying to get a full-time job. And I got a call from a really good company where I got my start and interviewed. I think the next day, was hired, and as quick as they could get the process done. I remember going to this interview, and the reason they had called me was because 6 months earlier, when I had applied, they had chosen another candidate, but this candidate had already been promoted to an assistant manager at another property. So they didn't have any good resumes coming through. So they looked through their old resumes and called me. I'm sure me and several people, but thank goodness they chose me. So I went for the interview, and I'll never forget the assistant manager. It was a property, I'll keep out of company names and things like that, but it was a company that is well known here. And at that time, that many years ago, everybody dressed the same. Okay. So it was pink day. And this assistant manager just knew when I walked up, I guess, because they were expecting me at that time, just slung the door open and said, welcome to your new home, And I remember that. And it was I just felt at home, got through that interview process. And then, here I am. But I continued leasing. I stayed with them several years. I, promoted up with them to assistant. I did some several property leasing and stuff. But I always had this desire, and I always wanted to better myself and to do more. So I happened to have someone reach out to me. In this business, people come and go, and they also come into your property and shop you.
That's
So
right.
I was shopped and I was offered a property manager position. It was my first property manager job, and we can talk on the lack of training of that on into this. But anyway, that got me going to where I needed to be. Okay, the first company trained me well to be able to succeed into what I jumped
Right.
into. Okay,
Yeah.
however, that's how I got in here. That's how I got my start, and from there, I managed this property. I stayed on the property side for a while, and then was recruited to a different staffing company who I really enjoyed working with. It's where I learned that I was extremely passionate about helping people. Not that
Right.
I had not already been passionate in the service, the things that I've done, but just seeing people succeed, and get a career and change their lives. Um, but after several years into that, I stayed on the vendor side, jumped into the flooring world with a wonderful company, and came back around to this. It was just a time in my life that I needed something to fulfill my heart.
Right.
And, this is hard work to me. And so here I am. And that's kind of, it's been a multitude of years to get me to where I am but through it all, it's been a beautiful journey. The people I've met along the way, the friendships I've made, the companies that I have been able to partner with, and just watch this entire industry grow. It's been a beautiful journey
Right.
that I hope will continue for a long, long, long time. Right.
Right. We all do.
Yeah.
So no, I love that. I love that you said heart work, because I feel the same as you. I
Mhm.
was recruited into the industry, worked leasing for a while, managed property for a little while, and then I got into the maintenance side of things, and I really sort of learned to enjoy helping,
Yeah.
really helping people, and not so much as changing a light bulb, but to me, I enjoyed the hard tasks that no one else wanted to do, the ones where the residents were just sick and tired from having to call in the same request over and over
Right.
again. You just get the same answer. Oh, it's this way because it's just the way it's designed. And I for one just never really took that as the proper answer, and so I took the ones that were hard and dug deeper and learned how to make permanent fixes and really see the look of satisfaction and the look of um, just like that. Oh, finally someone gets it. Finally someone listened to me and took care of it. And it became hard work for me too, and which has kind of pushed me into this new side of what I'm trying to do and educate. Really being an advocate for maintenance education. Um, uh, Not that all maintenance need it, but there are a lot of people out there who do. And,
Right.
to try to be a good voice, a stable voice for the what I say the proper way um, to treat your residents. I mean, they are the ones who pay our salaries, and
But that's
um,
right.
it's just I find satisfaction out of
Hmm.
out of helping
Yeah.
anyone and everyone. So
Speaking of maintenance, our maintenance teams do not get the um, appreciation and accolades and everything they need. We have nothing without a good maintenance. And I am very, as much as I love everything else, I have a special place in my heart for the maintenance teams, because my maintenance teams along the way helped me. I mean, I cannot say enough how important it is for a new leasing person to have a relationship with their maintenance people, to understand
mhm.
the whys and how to do things and how to write those work orders and all of the things that go with that. But you build those relationships, and then you learn how to do some of those small work orders, that maybe you can take off while they're doing all these big things. But
Yep.
you also learn to appreciate how hard they're working every day, because you think they're riding around on that golf cart and they're sitting in the shop, well, you don't realize they're sitting in the shop trying to figure out how to fix this problem. So they don't have to call a contractor that's going to cost $5,000 when it may be a $25 fix,
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
I love maintenance.
Oh yeah. But when working in various companies, we implemented these little, we called them walk-a-miles,
Mm-hmm.
where office and maintenance would switch spots for a day, and maintenance would dress up, put on nicer clothes and a tie if necessary, or tuck in their shirt and wash their hair, and go into the office and sit and work in an office environment for the day. But then on the flip side, office personnel would come and work with maintenance for the day, and it really helped the teams develop that that sense of teamwork. Just being able to really see that it's not just the office side of things. It's not just the maintenance side of things. It really is a cohesive unit between office and maintenance.
Right.
Not to, but I'm currently reading a book by Jason Kay, Journey to the Rainforest Team Culture, and there's
I'll
it's
write
a
that
phenomenal
down.
book. Yes, please do that. I'll send you the link when we get off the call. But it's a great story on developing that rainforest ecosystem culture for leadership and training, and it's really good. I can't wait to continue to read it. But anyway, side note. So Monica, you got into the industry, you enjoyed helping people, you've gone to the vendor side, but what is it? What is it that makes you stay in the multifamily industry? I mean, obviously I know the hard work part of it, but like, after all these years, what made you want to stay here?
Definitely the hard work is the biggest thing, but I'll say that it is such a wonderful industry because there's so many ways you can go.
Mhm.
To know that you get in here, so I come in as a leasing person, and I don't want to say just a leasing person because to me that's a very important role. Um, but to come into this industry and see that there are so many ways you can go, so many things you can do. And one
Mhm.
thing I did was invest in myself because I wasn't at a level where my company was going to pay for me to go to association classes and different events and things. But I really wanted that. That was important to me to continue in education and continue to grow. So I started just paying my way to do things.
Yeah.
At first on the local level, and I mean, once a month, I think at that time it might have been $35 for a monthly meeting, or maybe, I don't know, maybe cheaper. I don't remember, but you think, I know it's a long time ago, right? Maybe,
I would say,
maybe it was
wow, was it $35?
well, it probably wasn't, but I really don't remember the time, but I do
Yeah.
remember, getting, when there were times that we could go as a team, but at other times when we weren't, the money wasn't there in the budget for everyone to go, I'd pay my way to go. And I started, with the local affiliate, with USAA. And then I started seeing all the education that was out there on the national side. So I
That's
just
right.
jumped in and started paying my way to do all of that, to go to every conference. I think in the last, gosh, 7 or 8 years, because I didn't do it all in the very beginning, but I would say maybe even in the last 8 years, I have only missed the three main conferences um, during COVID when we didn't have them,
Yeah.
because that is so beneficial. And so that's what kept me here, continuing to educate myself, to see what all is out there, to know that it's not a job, it's a career. And you can be in one role and stay there forever because you love it, or you can
Mhm.
grow,
Yeah.
from being on site to being in a corporate office or to being a supplier. There's so many ways you can go. And that's what's kept me here, is knowing that it's not the same thing every day. There's
Yeah.
always a challenge. There's always a blessing. And I don't know where I could work and I could feel that every day.
Yeah.
And I will say also, this industry becomes family, you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, and I can't, the number of people across this country that I feel extremely close to, that I keep in contact with, that have made a difference in my life. I would have never had that without this industry, you know.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's truly a blessing, and they've, this, that's what keeps me here. The love, the sense of family, um, and the hard work.
the hard work. Yeah. Yeah. So when that company you mentioned where
Mhm.
you were hired in, where you found the sales ad and you were hired in, the assistant threw open the door and said, "Welcome to your new
Yes.
career." Um, how important was training in your development? Because you had said that you were uh, you were reached out to about becoming a property manager, like
Mhm.
shortly after or
It's
after
several years after, but yes.
years after that first day as an assistant or leasing manager. But how important was training in your development?
I will say extremely. I would not be here without the training that I had. This
Yeah.
particular company, and maybe many others do this, but you started training on day one. Okay. And
Hmm.
it was not just fair housing. I mean, you had company developed training for leasing,
Yeah.
for how to interact with your team. This company offered training regularly. They sent you to their corporate office. You were there for several days, even up to a week at one point, where all you did was train.
Hmm.
You were shopped regularly. Um, your company would go over that with you. You had bonuses for 100 shops. I still have and use in my classes my certificate for my 100 shop. I'm still proud of that.
Nice.
Okay. I love getting those, right? And then you learn
You
from it.
asked for the deposit, didn't you? You asked for the deposit.
I did ask for the deposit. Yes, I did.
Good
Yes.
for you. Good for
And so
you.
you have to do that. But it's such the training and knowing how to handle people, how to handle residents, suppliers, anybody, even everyone on your team is what helped me to continue to grow. I was trained on things that were not just leasing. You could cross train. Being ready for the assistant side, learning the financials. I had a manager at one point that wanted us to know her job. I mean, in a leasing position, she taught us about budgets and how to write those and how to figure those and variance reports and all of this stuff that you don't have to know when you're leasing, but we were prepared because she wasn't afraid of us taking her job. She wanted to be confident if she took a vacation, if she got promoted, she had someone ready to go in that place. Because so many times when you're getting when you don't get the promotion that you want, it may be because they don't know who they would put there
Hmm.
because you're doing a great job, right? So they need to have someone ready for that. And I will say with that part and with the training, as a leasing person, I had a very high closing ratio. I'm very proud of that. But it also held me back a little bit when assistant jobs, because I thought, oh, I've just got to promote. I need to promote. I need to promote. But today I'm glad that I did not promote as fast because I learned so much more by staying in that role.
Yeah.
The training as a leasing person, and I could go so deep into this, but the training as a leasing person, when I do training today, I use a lot of my original training. Now I know it's years later, a lot of things have changed in the industry, but customer service does not need to change. Your
Nope.
attitude should still be great. And
Hmm.
one thing that really, really gets me is if someone walks in that door, you need to stand up, you know, and I don't see that a lot anymore. But that
Hmm.
is one thing that was instilled in us. And it was very important. It didn't matter who it was that walked in the door. You stood up, you know. Um, and the sparkle bucket. I cannot tell you the number of
Yeah.
people that do not even know what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know they don't know what it is when I go to their model or when, and it's crazy because people just assume. And I don't think that we've got these horrible companies out there that just aren't training. I think that somebody thinks somebody else taught them somewhere along the
Yeah.
way. and they don't realize that we're going to tour the model and the cobwebs are stringing from the lampshade to the wall. And, I see those things, but because that training I got in the very beginning at times was white glove training.
Mm.
Our VP would come into town, and this is no lie. She would put on her gloves and she would run her hand across the top of the door frame, you know, and we knew what she was going to look at because she was going to look at our vacants and she was going to look at our model,
Hmm.
so we knew there was an opportunity and we better have it right, but not just that day. You need to have it right every single day, not just because you have company coming. That was instilled in me,
Yeah.
when you walk up to an apartment and it's your model or it's vacant and there are bugs in the lamp on the light glass out there.
Yeah.
Clean that. You don't have, I mean, you can reach it, clean it, sweep that area, get the cobwebs down. Those are little things. But today, because I was trained that way, just really, I'm like, do you have a broom? Can I help you with this?
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
take care of this, because that is what's going to invite people in. That's why they want to stay, because you're taking pride.
Yeah.
So yes, training was extremely important in the beginning, and that is what made me want to continue to educate myself and train, continually.
Right.
And so
So
that's
it
what I
sounds like you got some with that company. You got some phenomenal training that you've carried with you your entire
oh,
career, and you're still passing
yes.
those lessons on to individuals who've been in the industry for a few days.
I
So
certainly
you're
hope I
taking,
am.
yeah, you're taking 20 plus years of training, good solid legacy training, and really. Giving that to the new generation. And I love that. It's kind of similar to my story, really. I mean,
Right.
I looked into a property when I decided to go to maintenance. I looked into a property where the supervisor was um, he was the maintenance trainer, but he was also an acting supervisor. So I had, again, at the time, a very large company. Their entire maintenance workforce was sent to our property for weeks to train with this individual. And I had him 8 hours a day for 3 years. And I cannot, I cannot say how invaluable that training was. But I try to instill that. I try to teach that every day, every time I meet somebody new or I see somebody doing something not necessarily incorrectly, but they're going the long way around to do it. And it's always nice to give them a little hint, a little tip, a little trick. Hey, this could save you some time. Or, it's not really worth doing that. And here's why. And just kind of explaining some things. But I love that you have continued to pass on what you were given in order to make our industry that much better. So that's awesome.
Even with the things the maintenance taught me, and then as myself as a manager, I would work on Fridays. I would work with maintenance because it was so important for me to understand their life, what they did. I wanted them to know, as a manager, I did not need to be sitting in my office. I wanted to help them. I wanted to be that person, that understood their job, that fought for what they needed, and was there for them. But that training I got with my maintenance has helped me, through the years to train, groundskeepers, to train some things in make ready. I'm sure there's some things that I can't personally do, but I have people that can do, obviously. But just to understand it, and understand when I'm talking to people, I know if they're shooting me a line. I know about maintenance because I spent time in there, with my people. And I think it's
Yeah.
so important. Invest in your teams, man.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on the training side of things, again, I know you received some very valuable training early on in your career, but as a whole, do you feel the maintenance or the not maintenance, I'm sorry, the multifamily industry has a good training score? Like if you just from with your current position at Legacy, and positions you've carried in the past, and from what you know in working with other companies, like, do you feel like the multifamily industry trains their people, or do you think, like me, you just got lucky?
You know what? I There are some absolutely wonderful companies
Sure,
out here.
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
the majority are just great, and I'm sure they have training programs in place. Okay, so I don't ever want to say you did not train your people.
Mhm.
I will say that the results don't always show that they've been trained.
Mhm.
And that could be comprehension on their part, or it may be that, companies are just offering videos to watch, or no true hands-on, because so many companies become short-staffed, and they find that they can handle it with three rather than four that they've had for 10 years, and it's working, so let's just do it. But truly it's not working because your team is getting burnt out, and your assistant now doesn't have time to train your new leasing person that's coming in, because she's going to get behind, and then she's not going to get her bonus. And it's just kind of a domino effect when that true training is not happening. So
Mhm.
I honestly don't feel like there is enough hands-on deep training. And hopefully, if people feel that they need it, I mean, I will come sit at your property, I'll take people around, I will help develop, because that's where my heart is.
Mhm.
I don't know your programs, but I know leasing. I know
Yeah.
customer service. I know what's going to make your property look good, what's going to bring people in. And that's what I'm seeing the lack of a lot of times, is the customer service side of it, and making sure that the people coming in the door feel like they are the most important. Many, many times I don't see that has been instilled in people on site.
Yeah.
And of course, that doesn't mean every company or every person where I've gone, but I am seeing the lack of that versus what it was 10 years ago, and I would even say 5 years ago, because I think that we kind of got into, like I said, that the opportunities to use less people, or to do things electronically. And, that, that customer service is not where it used to be. Okay. I think especially when we see our occupancy dropping, or let's bring somebody in to help out. Let's get an extra person if you need it during that time, or just get some extra training. Whether it be from your own corporate office or from an outside source. Extra training for your people is never a bad thing, never. And
Right.
that is on the maintenance side as well. It is sometimes just back to the basics will shoot your numbers up quickly, because we all get in a rut. We all get used to some things. So maybe they were trained in the beginning, but it's just gotten into this situation of, we're here, we're collecting a paycheck. We don't want to collect a paycheck. We want to make people happy. We want to sell homes. We want to give careers. We want a happy environment. And I'm not saying everybody's got to be happy every day, but when you have a prospective resident coming in and they feel that, they want to live there.
Yeah.
So we've got to continue to instill that. And the ones that are not doing it, we just got to get back to it.
Yeah.
Training, training, training. You know,
Yeah. And on training, I would add the words good training.
good training. Yes, good training.
Training.
Interactive training.
Right.
Everybody learns differently. Now, if
Yeah.
you come and sit with me and you say you're sitting in front of the computer and you're doing some things, and um, this is how you do it, and you're doing it, but you're telling me this is what you do, and I did not learn anything, because I have to do it myself to learn it.
Right.
Some people are fine just sitting to the side and you show them, then they get there and they can do everything. I'm a hands-on person. There are a lot of hands-on learners out
Mhm.
there. Have good training, be interactive, have roundtable discussions, figure out, be a team together, not this is office, this is maintenance. Have an entire team, and you're
Yeah.
going to be successful. But
Yeah.
continue to have that training together, because just like you were talking about earlier, when you walk a mile, you know, how wonderful is that? If teams could do that twice a year, that walk a mile, I mean, I think that it would really help a lot. You would understand a lot more. When
Yeah.
one of the classes that I do is, what what maintenance wishes the office knew. And I mean, that's a huge interactive class, and the more you get of both in there,
Yeah.
it's amazing what you learn and what you realize that, oh, wow, I didn't think about it that way. Or, oh, I'm going to do this better now because I didn't know it was making you work an hour later when I just needed a 5 minute
Hmm.
fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, being on, starting my career on the leasing side and working in the office for the first several years of my career in the industry, we get a lot of what the maintenance wishes the office knew, but and I don't want to make it sound like bad on you office people. No, I mean it goes both ways
Right.
because office, all their maintenance are just out there driving around their golf carts sitting in the shop. And of course, maintenance is like, oh, office, they're just in there sitting on their comfy chairs in the air
Yeah.
conditioning.
Playing on the computer.
It's not that way.
Mhm.
It really is two sides of the industry, office maintenance, that really need to come together. It is it's both sides. So it's not all office fault. It's not all maintenance fault. I think there's definitely some room for some improvement in communication there for sure.
Yes. Yes. And
But
it goes, it's definitely a both way. Definitely.
definitely want to make sure that I'm in no way, shape, or form advocating that maintenance has
No.
it harder or
It,
anything like that.
right.
No,
And I probably misspoke a little bit because when I do that, I do it for both sides.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It,
I've
it's
been
all
there. I've
together.
answered those phones. Yeah, and it's 6 o'clock or 5:55, and you're ready to go home for the day, and that phone rings, and like, hey, I'm out touring apartments. Can I stop in? And it's like, hmm, yes,
Sure.
you sure can. I would love for you to come by. Uh, wow, we have so many amazing floor plans for you to choose from.
Hmm.
Yeah, wow, that was fun. I
Yeah.
don't miss that at all. Do not miss that
Look,
at all.
it brings it back. Sometimes I do. Now, I actually worked at a property a few weeks back. I went and worked a weekend, a Saturday, doing
Hmm.
leasing. And we got 10 leases, and it was amazing. I loved it. There was a need, and I said, "Hey, I'll do it." And
Yeah,
they were having an event that day. Just needed the extra people. But sometimes just taking you back to it, and I think that is great too for any of our leaders in our corporate to decide to come and work one day. Come
yeah,
on and work on site. I think that'd be amazing. And when I say that, I mean come ready to do what that person in that seat normally does. Just like the walk a mile with your corporate also. You know,
yeah.
because taking me back that day, I remembered many things. I remembered how much fun that job is. Okay.
Hmm.
I also remembered how you deal with a lot of different personalities. And it was a hard working day, but it was definitely a beneficial day. It was a rewarding day. And I would do it again. And I think that is good to get in there and do that because sometimes, especially in what I do now, sometimes we do. I've done some fire watch lately. Sometimes
Yeah,
you just do what you have to do, but it keeps you humble and it makes you remember what you need and what training you need out there for the people you're bringing into the industry.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said something a minute ago, and I had to write it down so I could reference it later. But I think, I think, well, I don't say I think. COVID changed everything.
Oh.
Offices were locked down.
Mm-hmm.
No tours. We got out of the hustle of the standing up when people walked in, the greeting people with a smile, and it became like, I don't want to say negative, but it became just a very interesting time for our industry. When companies were allowed to start touring again, all of the red tape, all of the this and the that, and of course it was to keep people safe. And I'm not,
Mm-hmm. Of course.
not backing that or talking bad about that at all, but we went from an industry that was very upfront face, personal,
Mm-hmm.
customer service driven to almost, that whole process of, okay, must check these boxes, must have mask, must have sanitizer, must have. Doors were locked, attitudes and environments became very cold. And I feel like here personally here in our area where I'm around, and it still feels like some people have yet to bounce back from that, and it still seems cold. It still seems not personal, not
Mhm.
exciting, and just they probably got great training at some point, but
Right.
had to revert to this new thing. And like, I mean, what do you see that? Do you feel that?
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on that because, like, when I say even maybe 5 years ago it changed, that's about the
Yep.
time that we weren't sure it was COVID 5 years ago, but we knew something was happening and people were getting
Right.
sick, right? Right about this time. Um, so I definitely agree with that. I think that the fear and the way we had to do things shut people down, and a lot, especially even a lot of new people that were just into the industry. That's how they learned because hey, nope, can't do that anymore. So now, as you come back a year later from that, you're barely getting back into true people in front of you, but you're still distanced. You're still scared to
Right.
shake hands. You're scared, you don't want to get too close to them. And I do think that that changed a lot of things. And that's where I get back to it's not that companies haven't trained or did not know how to train, it's that it changed. And I
Hmm.
think so many have not gotten back to the true humanity part of it, where we care that you're going to be here. We want you to come in the door, where we're putting that training back in place. Um, and everything changed at that time, and a lot of people, that there's some people that just aren't even in the business anymore, after that. But I do believe that the ones that are still here are they've learned what they can do electronically. Okay, here, let me just send you this and you can do it, which is great. It's great that you can do everything paperless. That is wonderful. Still have that human contact. Let them do it
Yeah.
while they're in the office. Don't send them home to do it.
Right.
Make them think you really want them to be there.
Right.
So I
Right.
do think that training did change during that time.
Sure.
Mhm.
And something else that changed during that time, and again, you said it earlier. Companies learned that I have 4 people on site, but I can operate with 3. I have, the oh, I don't need this giant office space anymore because everyone's working from home, or we're gonna cut our staff, or we're gonna reduce, we're gonna save because we learned that we can operate with these individuals, and we don't need the extra people, we don't need the extra this, the extra that. So that plays a huge role on people being overworked, burnout. So along that line, and I know you are a huge advocate for mental health, how do like what do you say to people who are burnt out? What do you say to companies who want to try to implement some type of mental health awareness for their people? Like what can we do as an industry to let our people know that we care
Mhm.
and we want to help? What can we do?
Well, first I'll say it's not just, and there's a multifamily industry
Oh
issue.
no.
It's a
Yeah.
national issue. Mental health, whether it be genetic mental health issues or social, so many things can cause you to be stressed and have change your entire mental health. Whether it be work, it be grief, whatever it may be. So I would say to companies, look at that. I've got a company right now that once a month, and maybe once a month is too much, but once a month, they close on a Friday. The
Hmm.
third Friday of the month, everybody is off. They use a service or contractors for any emergencies. Um, and that's it. No one else is there that day. If you want to do team building, the company pays for it. But if you don't and you just want to do your own thing, it's a day off with pay. And that is to keep them from burning out. There are
Sure.
several other companies that do it, that it's a mandatory, they close, every quarter, for a day or 2 days. There are some companies that have built in mental health days, and
Hmm.
you just say, hey, I'm sorry, I've got to take a mental health day. And it's not counted against you. It doesn't look bad on you because sometimes we do get burnt out. I cannot stress enough how important it is to be aware of that with your employees, because the number of people that come to me in the position that I am and say, hey, what do you have out there? I can't do this anymore. I'm working too many hours. Is there anything, And I try to coach them through it because I don't believe in just jumping ship just because, I think you're not going to have the problem you've got right here is going to be the problem over here also, because everybody is running into the same short
Sure.
staffed. I'm working you anyway because it's working. Our numbers are good. So I would say have real conversations, bring the regionals in, have a roundtable discussion. I say that roundtable discussion all the time because I love that. I love where you can all sit there and you can all talk about stuff, your little fireside chat, whatever you want to do, a very casual but real conversation of what would work. Um, I do know a regional out here now, and if her staff calls because of a mental health day, they need something, she'll go to the property and work. She'll change everything up and do that because it is so important to her for her properties to run well, and they're not going to run well without her staff running well. And if you are not fueling your staff, you're going to run out of gas. And she has done very well to keep for several years now, her staff, because she does understand that. So I would say to any company to look at that, to see what you could do. How can you give back? Because we're working hard, and I'll just say this just right now. I have an amazing staffing manager who I worked with early on in my career. We leased together, and then she was a manager, and then she's been a manager for many, many years, and now she is working with me as a staffing manager. During the storms, I can't tell you the number of hours she worked. I felt bad about it. I would say, no, just give me the phone. Let me do this. And she'd say, no, I got it. But I worried about that burnout. So I wanted her to know that, hey, we can do that. You don't have to do it by yourself. We can do it together. Somebody would call out, she would be sitting there doing fire watch. People will do it because they care. And you have to remember that just because your employee cares and they want to make your property great, that doesn't mean they're not burning out. Right. Because they can still burn out. So now I want her to go take a day, she's like, oh, no, I'm fine. So I'm going to have to throw some kind of surprise day in there for her so she doesn't have a choice but to take a day, right? And she'll know that when she hears this, right? But that's okay. You have to do things for your people. Lunch is not the answer. Doing something to relieve them of that stress, having someone else come in and do the job that day and say, hey, you know what? I know you're here and it's 10 o'clock, but you're off the rest of the day. We're going to take care of this for you. Whatever you can do to let them know that you truly care. And I would tell every employee, be honest about it. If you're burnt out, go have a sit down conversation, just a passing conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm tired, or I wish I had a day off. Oh, gosh, I've got to work Saturday again. That's not the real conversation. You didn't really tell them. Okay.
Right.
Schedule a meeting, have a sit down conversation. I love what I do. I love working for this company. I am truly getting burnt out. I don't want to leave. I'm not telling you this to replace me. I'm telling you that I need a day off, or how can we meet in the middle and make this work, but having that real conversation, as an employee, you're going to see where your company is, how can they come together? Maybe your manager's going to say, you know what? I've been wanting to work a Saturday. Why don't you take this weekend off? I mean, you just never know what that answer is going to be. So it's important to have that open conversation. And I would say that to every employer and every employee. Yeah. Don't just jump ship because you're tired. Have a conversation and see what you can do. Because everyone in our industry and throughout our country is truly tired right now. We are all working as hard as we can to survive. And a lot of us, like Mark and I, are loving it, right, Mark? Yeah. We're loving it.
Oh, yeah.
However, we still get tired. We still need a break. Yeah, we still need a break. So, I think it's important because, there's a company, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but I wish so many people could take notes from them. And this is my own personal journey. during COVID, I was new with that company. So we're coming into COVID. I lost my son. I had 2 surgeries and I had breast cancer, all within a 4-year period with that company.
Mm-hmm.
And not one time did they make me feel bad about being out of work. Not one time did they not pay me. Not one time did they say, when will you be back? It was, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
You let us know. And if every company could be like that, I mean, if Adam as a leader put that in place for this company, and if every company could take notes that way and say, hey, you know what, maybe we can't do it exactly the same way, but it doesn't have to be black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's mental health is different. It's not always about, oh, I gave you a half a day, so tomorrow I've got to give you a half a day. We have to look at it as what we can do for each other in the right time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's totally outside of your regular policies.
Yeah.
And I don't think, some people would probably say, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. But you can, because each situation is different. So there's no discrimination there. It depends on what's going on at that time. And I just think it's really important to have those conversations. So get together, have your corporate meetings, see what you can do to help your employees, because retention is so important. Think about how much you spend trying to get that next good person when you could figure out how you could keep this great person that you have.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And even outside of the mental health part of it, back on the training part, you've got this great person who gives the best tours of anybody you've ever seen, but they're not so great at the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Find what they can do, find your other person and fit that puzzle together. And then you have a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I said it a podcast a few episodes ago, but there was some research. I think I pulled this off of NAA's website. Can't remember when the study was done, but it was done within the last 2 or 3 years. But it was 94% of your current staff would choose to stay with their current company if that company had a plan to invest in their education and invest in them as employees. And so outside of training, that also includes your mental health conversations. It just includes so many other types of things. But I think that some of those studies are pretty telling, that just say like, hey, here's what we want. And if we can have a conversation, meet in the middle, we can save ourselves a lot of headache with turnover.
A lot of
But
money.
yeah,
People
it
can
costs.
continue to care for their families, and you
Uh-huh.
can save money as a company because you're not paying for that turnover.
Right.
You know,
Right.
um,
Absolutely.
and I'd like to talk even about one thing that is not addressed enough. I don't think is your mental health is affected when you are a parent and you have young children, and the daycare will not let them come because their nose is running, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't go to work because you can't take your child to daycare.
Yeah.
Or the school calls because your child got sick at school, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and somebody's got to pick the child up. Can't go to daycare because they're sick, but they can't go back to school for at least 24 hours because they got sick at school. And I've known some people that lose their jobs because of that. And it's legitimate stuff. It's stuff that you could prove, the daycare did call, the school did call, this has happened. And so many times I hear leaders say, well, call the grandparents. Grandparents can do it. Oh my gosh, get to work. It's not our fault. Of course, it's not your fault. But let me just tell you, it's not like it used to be. I'm a grandparent of 7. I have 7 grandchildren.
Mm.
And obviously, I work a full plus job. Okay. I can't. I mean, yes, maybe there is a time that I could say, you know what, I'm working from home, bring them over here. But that is very rare. And it's not something that can happen all the time because we're in a different time now than we were when I was a child. My grandfather was retired. there were 7 of us grandchildren. He kept every one of us. Yes, you know, and
That was
it's
us
just
too.
not that right. Yeah, it's not that way anymore. The grandparents are still young and working, and yes, I'm still young, and and we're
You are.
still working hard, and we can't do it. So if there is even some way to say, okay, no, we can't have everybody out because things do happen, but be, more empathetic to those situations, because
Sure.
that is another time that you're going to lose people. People are going to choose their family first. I'm going to choose my family first. I
I
want
would.
my company to succeed, but my family will be taken care of one way or another, So let's look at that as a whole and say, what can we do to
Yeah.
keep, because when you've got these young parents, and I've got maintenance guys that are single parents doing the same thing. So it's not just, maybe your office staff, it's male and female, it's across the board, and they're trying so hard. So
Yeah.
what can we do to help? And I don't know the answer to it, okay, but I would like that to be on the radar for people to think about. Let's have a brainstorming session.
Sure.
Let's try to figure it out. How do we
Yeah.
help going forward?
Yeah.
I
No, I mean, you brought up some very, very good points
mhm.
for some things for a lot of people to consider.
I come from a servant family. I'll say, you know, uh, my my mother's still a servant to every one of us and everybody, and she's absolutely wonderful. Does all this stuff. A lot of people in our industry know her because I used to take her with me when I would do career fairs, and she would be the one to sign everybody in. She loved it. But my dad was in sales, so customer service. My brother, absolutely amazing. He's in sales and customer service. My sister in customer service and serving in the school district. And I just think that, to bring that up is to say we're a family and multifamily, and the
Hmm.
team that we work with is somewhat of a family also. I'm nurtured by the ones that I grew up with. We're nurtured every day by the ones in our office. And if we
Yeah.
can all have that positive attitude and help each other grow together, it will help the mental aspect of all of it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That book I referenced earlier that you wrote down,
Mhm.
Journey to a
Journey.
Rainforest Team Culture, read that book. Um, Jason Kay, phenomenal. He I'll have him on as a guest soon. We're trying to work it out right.
Jason, we stood and talked with Jason,
We
right?
did. We
Yes,
met him.
yeah.
We met him at
Hmm.
Apartmentalize.
Yes,
Yeah, there you
great
go.
guy.
That's him. That's him.
Yes.
But definitely read the book. Very
Okay.
good. And for anybody who's listening to this, I'm receiving $0 for saying this, but buy the book. It's on Amazon. 14.99, I think, ish. Might be less. I really don't
Yeah.
remember. Um,
Is it
I could.
Audible? I do know how to read, okay, but I'm in the car so much that I listen to books all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like. You can get it digitally. He even offered to send me a code to do it digital, but I want the book. Like I am
I
old
like to
school.
hold a book too. Yes.
I want the book in my hand. I'm one of those weird that likes the smell of the flipping the pages, and like I love books. But get the book. I mean, if it's something that you know you yourself would like to try to grow as a leader, to try to incorporate some of these strategies into building your own team culture. This book is really, it's really good. It's opening my eyes to a lot of
Mhm.
things that one, I was doing right that I didn't know I was doing right, but then also just a list of things that I wasn't doing so right,
Mhm.
and you know um, maybe instead of trying to push a square peg into a round hole, I can learn to make the hole multi-shaped so that various people, different walks of life can all fit in the same team.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's really helping me a lot, also grow personally. So
I love
very good
that.
read, very good read.
I think I'll enjoy
But
it.
yeah, I think you will. I think you will.
Mhm.
So last question, Monica. I like to ask everybody this. You have somebody come to you and say, Monica, I've been thinking about getting into the multifamily industry. Do you have any advice for me? What do you say?
Well, honestly, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's talk about it. And
Yeah.
that's the truth. I do that because I love it so much. Okay.
Mhm.
But what I would say, don't just jump in anywhere. Let's talk about where you're going to go. Let's talk
Mhm.
about the training you're going to have before you go, because you need to educate yourself on where you're interviewing. You need to educate yourself on the property. You need to educate yourself on everything about it. So I do like to say it's an absolutely wonderful career. You can come out of college thinking, oh, I've got this degree and it has nothing to do with leasing or
Mhm.
groundskeeper, but yet it does, because start from the bottom up and you can go anywhere you want to. And that degree is going to help you continue to be everything that you paid for the education for. So I would say, come on, join us, let us train you.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful people in this industry. Let me put you with this person. Let's get this mentor. Come on. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Everyone's
Yeah.
welcome. Let's
I
just let's
love it.
just make this industry bigger and better,
Yeah.
which I see it happening
We're,
all the time.
yeah. Well, we're going to have to at the rate that we're growing, 1 million new units
Mhm.
in between 2024 and 2025 across the country. 4,700 new units just in our town, just in the upstate of South Carolina
Right,
between now and
right.
2026, I think. So we need people. We need good people. And well,
Yes.
I say we need good people. Like we need people. We need individuals that we can invest in, that we can train, that do
Again, I
want
was
to.
going to say that comes back to
Yeah,
training. Yeah.
yeah,
You find the attitude, the great people with a great attitude, we can train them. You can
yeah,
train them. I can train them. Many of us out here can train the right people,
yeah.
because
Right.
somebody gave me a chance.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know what I was doing.
living proof. Living proof. Living proof.
Yeah, brand new to the game, right? We all started somewhere. If everybody can remember, we all started somewhere.
Hmm. Yeah. So, question before we go. I know I've been. This podcast is full of questions, but
I love it.
when you mentioned, and yes, my thumb is painted gold.
I love
I
it.
yeah, I keep getting little flashes of gold in my face. I'm like, what is that? And I
It's
remembered that it's from my swim team. I
okay.
coached Eastside High School swim
Love
team. We
it.
had state championships this past weekend, and we always paint.
You won
Um,
the gold.
our boys team won the state championship. It's their tenth in a
Wonderful.
row.
Oh,
Tenth in a
wow.
row.
Congratulations.
Uh,
See, that's a great leader right there.
gold. That's gold for first place. But
Yes.
when you were telling your story about your assistant manager opening the door and
Mhm.
saying welcome to your career, who was that assistant manager? Can you tell me?
I can. So then that tells the property. His name is Stacy.
Hmm.
He is still in the industry,
Yeah,
and he manages with a different company now.
yeah,
And the other person that was sitting in there that day is my staffing manager.
nice,
You know,
very good.
you go, Alyssa Ritchie, it's a circle. You just go
Yep,
around everybody in this industry. Don't burn bridges, right?
that's right.
Never
Yeah,
burn a bridge, because you don't know who your next person you're going to be with, whether you're
yeah,
working for them, working with them, building a team together, or they're saying, we don't need you because you had already burnt that bridge. You just don't know what's going to
right,
happen.
right.
But that's,
Multifamily, we do
yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, Monica, thank you so very much for coming on today and just having a conversation. Um, where we can't. I don't want to say I can't change the world, but I think that through enough conversation, we can at least get some people to start maybe thinking about things a different way, and maybe we can start making small incremental changes, one conversation at a time. So
One conversation at a time. I love it.
yes, yes. So
Yes.
thank you
Thank you
again
so
for taking
much for
time
having me.
and joining me today. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you again.
All right. See you
All
later,
right.
Mark.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen to this episode. I hope you found it entertaining and insightful. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other industry podcasts and sponsorship opportunities. And until next time, don't be afraid to crank the volume.